The iPhone 13, 14, and 15 are all for sale on Apple's website. And with the minimal feature upgrades that we're getting every year, is it really worth it to go all out on the latest model? Put all three phones side by side and only a handful of people could really tell the difference. And is there a point to buying the Pro level phones over the normal phones, or is it just a scam? Let's see all of what Apple has to offer and find out what gives you the most value for your money. When you first look at the iPhone 15, it looks amazing. The thin bezels all around the sleek dynamic island are all great features to brag about, and it would seem to anyone that it's a no-brainer to get the latest model. And I was tricked by this too. When I watch the Apple event, which I see every year, I was persuaded by the high percentage improvements and all the fun new gimmicks that Apple put into this new product. And the cherry on top for this great iPhone was the brand new 48 megapixel camera, which was a much needed upgrade considering we've been stuck with the 12 megapixel camera since the iPhone 8. I mean, even the durability tests all over the internet show that the glass is much stronger, the chip faster, and the USB-C charging just turns it into that perfect package. But when you look at the iPhone a bit more closely, you can see the underlying things that Apple is trying to do here. Just to begin, Apple is using the same processor as last year. Sure, it's the 14 Pro's chip, but come on. My theory is that Apple produced extra chips at their manufacturers for a lower cost, and then use those cheaper extra chips to make their newer iPhones. And not just the chips old. The 48 megapixel camera was introduced into the Pro lineup last year with the 14s, and only now it came to the lower iPhone. Following this path of moving the old Pro features to the new cheaper iPhones makes sense given how good and highly rated the Pros are, but it's just a slap in the face of the consumer who wants to get a good quality product with all the newest features, not last year's. But when the iPhone 15 Plus came out this year, I saw huge potential. Longer battery and bigger screen, that's the only difference. But with that came a great phone which I believe to be close to flagship. The longer battery not only gives you more of that Pro Max experience on a regular iPhone, but the larger screen gives you more real estate to play games, type on your keyboard, and watch content on. The Plus lineup is also not new. It used to be part of the iPhone 8 series iPhones, and was discontinued with the iPhone 10s and 11s when they introduced the iPhone XS Max and the iPhone 11 Pro and Pro Max. And I'm so happy the Pluses are back. Instead of buying a $300 more expensive Pro Max iPhone, you can get the battery and power from the iPhone 15 Plus. Not just that, but actually has a longer battery life than the 15 Pro Max, which is just incredible. So, big win for the 15 Plus. But what about this year's Pro lineup? The iPhone 15 Pro can be summarized in 3 words: strong, fast, and pixel perfect. Well, maybe that was 4 words, but that's besides the point. The iPhone 15 Pro is unlike any other phone in the lineup. It has all the Pro features, chips, and cameras with a small form factor for regular users. And it even seems like the phone everyone should get. Much better than the regular 15 and smaller than the 15 Plus for those who don't like big phones. And I believe that it fulfills that role, but only partially. The upgrade from the last year's to this year's was super minimal, with only titanium, a slightly faster processor from last year's already ultra fast one, and a slightly larger camera, which is a negligible difference. I wish that I could easily recommend this phone, but like the 15, it just seems a little bit old. The new colors were refreshing to see, and the highly advertised titanium finish doesn't seem like a huge deal to me. This iPhone doesn't answer that so what question everyone has when buying a phone. For this year, I just don't see a point of going for the regular Pro, and that's just a fact. Now onto the 15 Pro Max, which is probably the most controversial phone on this list. There's already such a big gap between the normal phones and the Pro iPhones, and that's just a fact. One has better cameras, one has worse cameras. One iPhone is more expensive, one is less expensive. And now the same thing is moving on to the Pro and Pro Max iPhones. The Pro and Pro Max used to be partners in crime like the 15 and 15 Plus, each serving a different type of consumer. The Pro would be for the everyday hardcore phone user, and the Pro Max would be for the everyday hardcore phone user who just likes a little bit extra battery. But the gap is getting larger with the 15 and 15 Pro Max. This Pro Max iPhone is not the same as the Pro with just a larger battery, but it also has a newer camera than the Pro, and a larger price. And you can see the pattern beginning to occur, just like with the Pros and normals. One has better cameras, one has worse cameras. One iPhone is more expensive, one is cheaper. And I hope that that pattern stops. This growing divide could be a hit to consumers having to pay even more than we already are for the newest features. Look at how much we are paying now for an iPhone 15 Pro Max, It's already $1,200, which is $100 more than last year's Pro Max. If this pattern continues, we can get more and more and more expensive until the most pro iPhone is just too much for even the most hardcore phone users. But that's just a theory. There's probably a more reasonable excuse for the price increase, such as having to keep up with inflation and prices rising across the country. But I just hope that Apple stays at that sweet spot pricing that they already have. Just a basic iPhone and a slightly better Pro. No huge difference, just a bit more expensive for a bit more features. And those are the iPhone 15s. And when you're all on the internet, that's all you're gonna see is videos about them and the new things that they have to offer. But what's often forgot is last year's model.
God, please, no! 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 No!
And watching this video, you already know about the minimal differences between last year's and this year's, but is it really worth the $100 discount to go down a year? Well, let's see the difference. The iPhone 14 and 15 have decently big differences compared to the 13 and 14. In my opinion, it's better to get the 15 than the 14. For $100 more, you're getting the new Dynamic Island, as gimmicky as it is, and the 14 Pro chip. The big spec difference between the 14 and the 15, considering how fast the 14 Pro's chip already is, makes it a no-brainer for me. But there's more. The 48 megapixel camera gives you 4 times the image quality, which is a really big deal, and the larger sensor makes night mode shots look incredible. You get a whole new portrait mode, which can automatically turn normal photos into portraits later in the editing process, which is amazing for those times when you just say, I wish this was a portrait. You also get 2x zoom feature powered by the 48 megapixel camera, and we can't forget USB Type-C, which powers your Mac, iPad, AirPods, and pretty much everything by now. So in the battle between the 14 and 15, I would definitely go up. But what about the 13 and 14? For starters, the 13 is an amazing phone for anyone who is a light user. Cell service is as fast as it can be, social media such as X, Instagram, and more easily run on it with almost zero lag, and everyday things can be done with no problem. The gap between the 14 and 13 is pretty much non-existent unless you need the 13 Pro chip, which is in the 14 lineup. Confusing, right? Cameras are almost identical, battery is similar, and the only other notable difference that I can point out is that it can detect a car crash. But I don't think that that's worth it for most people. So in the 13 and 14 battle, the 13 is 100% the winner. But overall, which iPhone is the best value? Let's just look at the price of all of them. The 13 is $600, the 14 is $700, 15 $800, 15 plus $900, Pro $1,000, and Pro Max $1,200. Wow, these phones are expensive. I'll start off by removing the 14 from the equation completely. As I already said, the features are close to none, and it's really just a scam. The 15 is a decent phone overall, but I would have liked to see some more improvements. And the Pro and Pro Maxes are a bit disappointing this year, but if you're a Pro user, that's the only choice you've got. So there is no one answer for every single person, since everyone does different things on their phones. So I'm not gonna be like other YouTubers and not give you a straight answer, but I'll tell you what, I'll give you a personalized answer just for you. Look at this little chart that's on the screen. Pause the video and answer the questions and see which phone fits perfectly for you, and make sure to take the rest of the video into consideration because the system may not be 100% perfect. Before I end this video, I want to start a new tradition on the Gur Haskel YouTube channel called Gur Score. A 1 through 100 score for each phone or product that I review. 1 for the worst product and 100 for the cream of the crop. I've dropped links below for all the iPhones and this best deals that I could find, so check them out. Alright, Gur scores are on the screen, and as always, I'm Gur Haskel. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.